Hi, Trey. Did you get my email about signing in as a Cannabis Alliance address? You're muted, by the way.
Not yet. I mean, let me look.
Yeah, basically, I could not add your email to our host because we had to pay for it. So I sent you the login for the Alliance and our password. And you and I should both be able to be signed on at the same time. So it should be.
Oh, okay. And you sent me that?
Yes, I emailed that to you, I don't know, an hour ago.
Awesome. Thanks. I will relog back in.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm going to turn my screen off and go do other stuff. So please feel free to do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, if I hit any bumps, I'll let you know. Or if you want to you it won't. You said it won't bump you off, right?
No, it shouldn't. Kristen and I have been on same time multiple times.
Awesome. And you might find that you don't need me in this as much since you know how to run Zoom and we're not working with the house sound and all. So,
Right. But we love you, Trey. I like letting you have your zones.
Okay. Let me try this and I'll get right back on. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have my cell phone number, by the way?
No, that's a good question. No, hold on. Let me get a pen or my phone. One.
Oh, hold on. I've got mine. Why don't you just give me yours?
Okay. It's can you hear me?
Yeah.
206
206
954
954
9558.
9558. Okay, I'm gonna text you. I am going to step away from my computer for a few minutes.
Okay.
If you need me, just call me.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Kristen, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
We forgot to talk about elections.
Oh, crap.
I know. Just occurred to me. Is it okay if we talk on here? It doesn't look like anybody else.
Can you see my screen, by the way?
I can, yeah.
Yeah, it was a privacy setting.
I was gonna say it has to be some setting that's.
It was some little weird setting way deep in there, and I was like, and it wasn't on Zoom. Look, Trey has no hat.
I don't know. I usually have on a hat when I talk to you. You said
Yeah.
that before. Oh, I didn't realize.
But I was like, he is adorable without his hat. I'd never seen.
Oh, it's
him
been
without a hat.
cold.
Oh, good point.
So Kristen, I would just say in the general meeting, what we just might want to at least say elections are coming up, more information to follow.
All right, I'll add it to my list. If I don't, you can pipe up, but I'll add it to
Okay.
this.
All right. Yeah. Shoot, I can't believe I did that. Ugh. Anyways, sorry.
You guys
So
know
yeah,
it's
Trey,
gonna
when
be
I
open, right?
Trey, when I saw your video for the class, I was like, I don't even recognize that guy.
That's funny. I forget that I wear it so much in the winter.
Okay.
Hey, so Trey, I'll let you know how Maria Bamford is this afternoon.
Oh yeah, lucky you. That's awesome. Is that
I
from
know.
following her on Instagram?
Yeah, so if you just follow her, she'll put the thing up, and then I've Venmo'd her $5, and
That's sweet. We saw her in Seattle. She was great.
yeah, love her.
I'm gonna add her right now. Awesome. Thank you. There we go.
Rice Krispie treat.
Jill, your camera is very funny.
What?
Your camera.
What about it?
Well, you're showing us you're not wearing pants.
Oh, I'm wearing pants. I'm just not wearing real pants, and that's okay.
Okay.
I'll
That's
turn them off. Like, here you go.
Hey, Brian. I feel like we're in a really weird episode of Hollywood Squares. And I got to figure out how we can play Hollywood Squares on our virtual happy hour.
Oh yeah. And Brian, we got you good to go for your presentation, the second one. So it should load up without problem.
We'll unmute you when it's your turn to talk, though.
We can't hear you right now. I'm sorry.
Brian is muted. It's at the very bottom left-hand side of the screen.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go. And then we stopped hearing you.
Testing,
There you go.
testing.
No, you look good. We can hear you just fine now.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear us?
I cannot hear you.
Huh.
Check your computer muting. I just had this problem. This is Caitlin, by the way. Hi. Check to make sure your computer is not muted.
We heard him, but he
he
can't hear us.
me. Let's see.
Hello?
Yeah,
Hear
I
you
guess
now.
Yeah.
I hear you, but we don't hear us.
I can hear you now.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay, you can. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Did you figure out what it was?
No, I just
Oh.
started clicking buttons.
Well, that works too.
So it says recording. What's that mean?
We record this meeting, and Greg's listening to me. We will get those meetings up on YouTube. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Great. And will it have the PowerPoint deck on it also?
Yeah, it will.
All right.
It
Cool.
will. Thank you for doing this, Brian.
Yeah, I just kind of had to pull it together pretty quick.
Which seems to be our life these days, I swear.
Yeah, right.
And your rules, and I think the tax rules change daily.
Yep.
Is a little bit hair raising. So, and even LCB rules are changing daily. Yeah. So we'll get started in about 10 minutes. So relax, go get a snack.
All right, I have one more question. Are we screen sharing me, or are you using the deck there with Trey?
I think Trey will run it. You can just tell him next.
Okay, all right.
Is that work okay, Brian?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
And then, I don't know what I was gonna ask. You got my last update, right?
Got the last update, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, that's good. I'll see you soon.
Okay, yeah, I think the last one was sent like 47, well, would have been 50 minutes ago.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah. Okay.
And do you want me to, is there a certain page I can double check, make sure I got the right one? Is there something specific to look for?
Yeah, you could, I'll have to pull it up here. I don't remember what page it was. It's the one that I sent to you, Kristen, that said, I found an error.
Yeah, and then I forwarded that one over to Trey.
Yeah, I think that's it, Trey.
Okay.
I don't remember where it was now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got because it was a standalone attachment after the longer one.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we're all
Gotcha.
good.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Where's your music, Trey? Normally you have music playing. Here, you want me to play music? I can play music.
Ooh, excuse me.
I'll play music.
I think Caitlin should give us a comedy show. There, that's better.
Awarded. So just shoot me an email at kristen.baldwin@thecannabisalliance.us, and I'll put my email in the chat box for
Really fast. 'cause
Daily
I'm about to
credits.
go into this presentation.
Wanna ask you. I wanna ask you what I wanna ask you. Do that all night.
They cannot discriminate. I'm not going to sue. Doesn't matter. What kind of job is it?
Ask you, dear. Ever said I wonder it's so strange that we could be
Do
together.
you go to the owner or to the HR and say,
On the other one's things and
and everyone else has it,
you said things I
every single person?
would say something that I should have said long ago.
Wow. Yeah, that's a problem.
Down, down, me down. People like a mannequin. Except you wanted me to be seen. Existential moment that we saw the couple in the coma, and it was we were the cliche, but we carried on anyway. Hi guys. It's so weird to do a meeting remotely. So very weird. And I appreciate you all for showing up. This sucks. I mean, this just outright sucks. So I really appreciate you all showing up, and welcome from my basement office in Briar, Washington. And if you want to know where Briar is, I can look out my window and see Montlake Terrace, which is probably it's neither good nor bad. So welcome.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you all for showing up. It's lovely to actually see faces. This is really awesome. We'll start out with a couple things. What I want to say to all of you is I am very, very impressed. I'm extremely impressed with all of the things that you guys have done out there. You've done amazing jobs with social distancing. You've done amazing jobs around keeping your customers safe and your staff safe. You've done, you've got above and beyond what the public health departments asked you to do. And, you've put together shift changes. You've opened late. You've created senior citizen immunocompromised hours. You've given your frontline staff hazard pay, and I just want you to know I'm really amazingly proud of you. I can't tell how many times I've touted how far you've gone to the LCB, and the LCB has taken that information up to the governor to let him know that even though we're an essential industry, and yay for that, yay for us, jazz hands, yay, we're essential. Ooh, I have fat wrists. That we have gone above and beyond. And I have to tell you, that has been absolutely essential in maintaining our essential status. So great job. In addition to our monthly meetings, which we will be having until the governor gives us the big thumbs up that we can actually meet in person. And I miss those. I can't tell you how much I miss those. I hope you join us every Tuesday. Every Tuesday we have a happy hour, and we have a happy hour just so we can shoot the shit. It's from 4 to 5. The link is on our website, on our events page. Join us. It's every Tuesday. It's been really fun. It's been really enjoyable, and it's good to see all of you that actually show up and have good conversations. It's a place where you can ask questions. We got to meet Victor. Hi, Victor. We got to meet Victor at the last one. It's really good to hear from everybody in the industry. And so we really want you to show up Tuesday, 4 to 5, check our social media, check our events page. It's open to everybody. So I enjoy it, and my husband actually enjoys it since he doesn't have to listen about the industry at length when I go upstairs. And I don't have to talk to him for an hour. So woo! That's awesome. And then we're also sponsoring a lot of other sponsors. And I would consider sponsoring if you have a company. It's great public relations for your company. There's a chronic relief program on 420, of course. And it's to raise money for I think it's Feeding America. And I will shoot the link right here on the chat box. If you want to sponsor, just let me know and I will hook you up with the right people that are going to get you out there and sponsoring. So that is a really fun event, and I think that it's just going to be a blast. It's going to be a streaming concert, which is going to be kind of cool. All right. So I also want to mention before we turn things over to guest speakers. So there's a couple things. Board elections are coming up, and we'll be announcing that very soon.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but really quickly about Chronic Relief. It's sponsored by Fairchild, and if you are in a position of being interested in sponsoring, please contact us through the Cannabis Alliance, because we would really like to do a good showing of support for this event. Let us know and we'll put you in contact with whoever you need in order to participate in sponsoring this really, really cool event. That's all. Sorry to interrupt you about elections.
Oh, no, it's all right. And just, we just didn't want you to think that we're neglecting board elections. Those will be coming out very soon. So we weren't going to do much of a national legislative update today, just because the SBA program will be talked about by Todd, who's online right now. And then there might be some other national news that Todd will touch on. And if he doesn't, then frankly, it's all about the pandemic anyway. So it's mostly about relief, and Todd can talk a little bit more about that. And then, hey, Jill, can you send Jason a link to this meeting? He just sent me a text message. Got it. Okay. So before I turn things over to our guest speakers today, and we have quite a few, I want to make a plug for membership in the Cannabis Alliance. We've worked really hard over the past month to get cannabis designated as an essential industry. We keep in close contact with the LCB as the situation unfolded. And we got Curbside for All, which I think is amazing. We got Curbside for All, which was lovely. And some of the more relaxed ID situations approved. And we can talk about that after Al does his thing. We got our industry up front and center with the Department of Commerce, so that they included us in the Emergency Small Business Loan Program. And I'm sure Todd can address that as well. And the LCB is actually setting up a reporting structure for those who are going to be getting those loans. It's going to be a more simple reporting structure. It's not quite out there yet, but it will be up within the next week or so. And we have amazing membership benefits. And frankly, this is one of the best associations I've ever had the privilege to work for. So this is really an awesome group. If you're a licensee, it's relatively inexpensive. If you're an auxiliary business, it shows your customers you support their industry. And if you're a bud tender, it gives you insight into the business like no one else. Enough of the plug. I can throw a membership thing in for you, but that's what we're doing. I'm going to turn the time over to Al. I'm going to mute Al. That would be helpful. There, Al's unmuted. And I'm going to let Al talk about state legislature and budget updates.
All right. First of all, the really big deal was really helping to get cannabis considered an essential business. And we can thank a few folks even beyond the Cannabis Alliance for helping with that. But Sherry Sawyer in the governor's office was really a good ally for us and understood it right away, and was the one that carried the paperwork into the governor and kind of included it with the other recommendations that were coming from other policy experts in the Office of Financial Management, the policy arm of the governor's office. So that went really well. And I haven't really seen or heard of any negative feedback from it at all, other than the occasional person in the paper that might be griping about what's really essential and what's not. And so that was a really good success, and we can thank a lot of people for it. Thanks to all of you that engaged, and certainly thanks to Sherry Sawyer, who was very, very helpful with that. Since the legislature adjourned, everybody in Olympia wanted to get out of town really quick. The virus was starting to raise its ugly head. They adjourned on the 12th of March, and everybody knew in Olympia that things could get really bad. It could get really worse in terms of the transmittal of the disease. So they left very abruptly. Olympia, the offices in Olympia are closed. Staff is not there. You cannot get into the legislative building, which in my whole career has always been open for people to come through. That's where 4 of the statewide elected officials have their offices. They're closed. The governor's office, you almost have to have a guard come and meet you. And if you're on the list, then to be able to go in. And I think the governor himself is doing a lot of work virtually out of the governor's mansion. So quite unprecedented. I've never seen it like this before. It's just flat closed. But work still is ongoing. And I know just because of the other clients I have and with you as a client, I'm having a fair number of legislators that are contacting me asking for political contributions, because all of the House of Representatives are up for re-election and half of the Senate. So there's going to be a lot of races out there. People are going to be competing. I'm of the opinion that it's a year that kind of favors the incumbent, just because it's going to be difficult to run traditional races, lots of doorbelling, sign waving, engaging with town halls, that sort of thing. It's just not going to happen. And many of the legislators that I've talked to are really working on virtual town halls, having fundraising events over Zoom and things like that. So, and it makes it a little different for a lobbyist like myself, who we had planned, Kristen and Caitlin and I had talked about getting on the road and visiting legislators in their home district, introducing them to maybe local cannabis retailers or producers, taking some tours of some farms, and particularly for some of the legislators that this is not their favorite topic or one that they understand very well, to try to educate them as we need to deal with both sides of the aisle in Olympia. So that's not going to happen, at least in the near term. We'll see where things are later on in the year. And I know that even trying to make appointments with legislators, I'm doing fine virtually, and an occasional phone call or whatnot. But even some legislators are kind of distancing themselves from the process right now, and they're saying we really don't want to talk to anyone until the fall, just because of they have family obligations or whatever it might be. So we've seen kind of a change in the way Olympia works, but it still will work. It's where the budgets are promulgated. It's where agencies do the regulatory work, et cetera. I was on a conference call just a little over a week ago that had, for another client, that had the Senate Majority Leader Billig from Spokane. It had the Senate Minority Leader Schessler from Ritzville. It had J.T. Wilcox, who's the Minority Leader, the Republican leader in the House, and it had Larry Springer representing Speaker Jenkins to talk about the economy, to talk about it was before the supplemental budget had been signed, but just talking in general terms about what's going on post-legislative session. Now, since that phone call, the governor has signed the supplemental budget that will take this legislature through June of 2021, before a new legislature comes in and does a full operating budget for the 21-23 biennium. But what was interesting was the comments from Senator Billig and from Larry Springer, the Democrat representative from the House. And the first question that was asked is there going to be a special legislative session? And Senator Billig jumped in right away and said, it's too early to tell. We have to wait for the governor to sign the supplemental budget. We have to wait and see how long the coronavirus impact is going to be, and then to see what impact it may have on revenues. Well, since then, and this has been 9 days ago when we had the conference call, the governor has signed a supplemental budget, and he vetoed over $100 million worth of spending that was in that budget. And these were mainly programs that the Democrats, including the governor, had asked for and wanted to have. But the governor was able to see that revenues were going to be so down that he needed to at least put a line in the sand about the kind of spending that the state was going to engage in for the rest of this biennium, this year and half of next year. So that kind of sent a message that money's going to be tight. Since then, in a press conference yesterday, the governor announced that he is likely going to call a special session. It's not sure when, but that the revenues are so down that they're not even going to be able to accommodate the current budget that they have for the rest of this biennium. In one of the calls that I had for another client of mine, we talked about that. It's a group of community colleges. They depend upon a lot of state spending to be able to keep their doors open, even virtually, and to deal with upcoming salary negotiations and whatnot. And my advice to them and my advice to you is get ready for a very contentious special session of the legislature. I don't know what's going to happen. I do know that the next revenue forecast, the state 3 or 4 times a year, depending on the year, does an analysis of what the revenues are that are coming in and what the state of the economy is. And that next forecast is June 25th or 27th. But I think they'll know, or they already do know to a certain extent, that revenues are down. Sales tax is way down. Business and occupation tax, while there's still another quarter to collect, they're expecting that that's going to be down just because of the stay-at-home orders that are in place. And we'll see where we are, the 6th of May, when the governor had said that that's the length of time for the current stay-at-home order, and we'll see if that's extended. And we'll kind of see where things are with the public health care in the state. The bottom line is, and Larry Springer, the Democrat, on the conference call that I had with leadership, said that the situation is tense from an economic standpoint and from a revenue collection standpoint, and that we cannot be spending the way that we've been spending. And so he was coming to the same conclusion the governor has, is that there'll be a special session of the legislature. Now, because this is an election year and half the Senate and all of the House are up for re-election, they don't like to have special sessions in an election year because it focuses too much on the legislature and legislative politics. But they'll have no choice. If the governor calls them back into session, the governor calls them back in, and they're going to have to come and deal with what everyone expects is a very huge drop in revenue. What does this mean for the Cannabis Alliance? It's unclear, but as I told my community college folks to get ready to start cutting programs and possible staffing, I think you all have to expect that unless there's a new revenue source, and I know some legislators are talking about an income tax, but that will take quite a bit of time. It'll have to be a vote of the people, and so additional revenues, if it passes, won't be for quite some time. Probably well into the next biennium. But having said that, I do worry about surcharges on existing taxes that will be probably time certain and directed broadly through the industry. I'm not saying that I've heard that. I'm just saying that either they're going to cut programs very deeply, which I think there's going to be a lot of cuts, but they're also going to look at temporary surcharges on existing taxes, would be my guess. I hope I'm wrong. With that, I'm open to any kind of questions you might have. There is nothing specific in terms of legislation that people are talking about right now, whether it be home grow or banquet permits for cannabis clubs or looking at a state cannabis commission. Legislators just wanted to get home and start dealing with their own personal situations. Just an anecdote, Senator Billig, the majority leader in the Senate, his business is that he's the owner and operator of the Spokane Indians baseball club, which right now is not scheduled to have any baseball meetings because of the crowds issue, which means his business will be devastated. I have no idea whether it'll be able to even survive the fact that they won't have any baseball or any homestand stuff this year. So it's affecting everyone, including members of the legislature and legislative leadership. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions or give my perspectives on anything.
If anybody has any questions, just unmute yourself. That's fine.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, of course, Jason.
So when you mentioned some possible tax surcharges, are you saying that you think there's a possibility that they could add additional taxes to our industry?
Yes. It's a possibility. I would argue very hard that it's a heavily taxed industry already. And yes, it does bring in revenue, but how much more revenue do they want to bring in and lose the opportunity of having good retailers and processors out there? So I'll be a strong advocate of saying no when the opportunity pops up. But I think every industry is subject to the possibility of a surcharge. Don't mean to scare you, but I'm being very honest in what may be on the table.
Hopefully hopefully they'll remember the illicit market's ready to take over where the legal market can't, and we've done a good job to set that back. So.
Yes, and that's certainly one of the main arguments that I would make, and I know that was an argument that was listened to very successfully when the governor was under consideration of whether or not cannabis was an essential industry or not, and that was a very strong argument for you.
Caitlin?
Just a follow-up, Al, on that. Will we run into problems again, like with the constitutional tax cap? Like, because I know that when we changed the excise tax, we were able to kind of say this is way, way, way too much constitutionally even. Are we going to be able to utilize that argument?
We might be able to. It just depends on what they want to do and how much revenue they want to pick up.
Okay.
And I think there's an inclination to, at least by legislators outside of King County, let's put it that way, to really start cutting programs way back before they start implementing taxes. They do not like to implement any kind of a tax increase in an election year. So we've got that going for us as well. Just depends on how big the hit is to the economy.
Yeah.
Is there a link somewhere that we can see everything that the governor vetoed? Or where can
There is, and if you go into Washington State LEAP, L-E-A-P, it's an agency made up of legislators and others and economists, and they will have the operating budget LEAP document for, I'm trying to remember the bill number. I'll look it up here for you and just take a look at the bill. It's, the bill is about 300 and some pages long, and I know it's in 6 separate sections. I know one of my clients has got something that we were able to get a veto on in section 6, page 258. And there were more pages to go after that. So, but there is an index to where you can hone into it more specifically.
I put the link in the chat.
Okay.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Thanks, Caitlin.
Yeah.
And if you have any trouble, go ahead and give me a call and I'll help you. I'll help walk you through it too, or look it up for you. I'm happy to do it. So if there's no more questions, in conclusion, my plan in working with Caitlin and Kristen certainly is to do some virtual meetings with legislators. I know we're looking at a tour over in Eastern Washington the middle of June with some of the Republicans out of Moses Lake and down in the southeast part of the state to kind of bring them up to speed a little bit more about what the cannabis industry is and to try to get over some of the fears that they had in a couple of the committees that I was working with them on. And we can do that virtually, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to do it. And possibly, if it works, maybe even have a virtual meeting with a couple legislators from a producer and take a look at the operation and have a Q&A that way. Kristen and I haven't talked about it, but it's a way of the new normal.
Yeah, I agree. And I fully support that, Al.
Okay.
Caitlin, you have something to add?
Yeah, and so this brings us to the opportunity to plug the PAC for the Cannabis Alliance. Right now, especially in the election year and given the just utter chaos, a little bit goes a really long way.
It does.
So anything that you've got, it really will give us a little bit bigger seat at the table if you can contribute to the PAC. So consider that, please, if you've got it.
Definitely. Well, thank you. Thanks, Al.
I've got to echo it. For me to, but for me to be able to do my job, it's really good when really good supporters that have been there for us call and say, hey, I've got some opposition, or hey, I really need to get my message out. It's going to be a lot more expensive this year because I'm going to have to do direct mailers or whatever it might be. Just a little bit with the Cannabis Alliance letterhead on it will go a long, long ways, and it really, really does help. And people do remember, I'm not trying to say that money buys anything for you, but it certainly helps you with access, and people will remember when you were there for them when they've asked. So that's my plug, and would really appreciate whatever little bit that you can do. I know I've got PACs with 2 of my other clients, and it really helps with access.
It does. It very, very much so does. Thanks, Al. That was,
you got it.
That was very enlightening to how weird things are getting. A couple things.
And we'll see. Just stay tuned, and the governor will be telling us what the next steps are, and we can talk about it next month too.
That's true.
We'll see you guys, and good luck with your businesses out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A couple things around the LCB. The enforcement group is planning a webinar for retailers next week, all about COVID and how to check IDs in the time of COVID and some of the curbside pickup questions. They're talking about how if you, basically they're just trying to keep the product out of the hands of minors. So if somebody looks under 30, obviously, just like alcohol, you would ID them. But if they're over 30, it's not required. They do say that a lot of retail does do that as best practices, and that is fine. They're just trying to keep it out of the hands of young people. So often when people come in with masks, you can ask them to lift their mask. You don't have to scan IDs. You can just have them show their own ID. And then the other thing about curbside is, and a couple retailers asked about this one, where parents are out running errands with young children in the car. It doesn't mean everybody under 21 has to get out of the car. It just means that they clearly know that the young children are not going to be minors in possession. They're just thinking if it's a carload of young people or younger people, ID everybody. So that's the other thing. And if they want employees to wear masks, by all means, let them. And then the other thing the LCB asked is 420 is coming up, and that's usually a big event for retailers, that perhaps to get customers to space out their buying around that day rather than that day directly, because it'll be very hard to do social distancing. So maybe we're doing a little bit of a social media push around the month of April is 420 all month long. So we know this is a really social activity, but we have to unfortunately do it socially distant. So just be prepared to have your customers buy all month long. So that was the word out of the LCB. All the other rulemaking is kind of on hold until they can figure out a way for public comment that meets the legal requirements. And so they put all of those QA rules, the true party of interest rules, and the voluntary compliance rules are all sitting in hold until that gets accomplished. So do we have any questions about the LCB? Okay. I will, as soon as I hear about the webinar, I will let you guys know as well, and that'll get sent out. Brian, why don't you unmute yourself, and Trey will get your PowerPoint going. And we're going to do a presentation. Brian is the head of our HR committee, and he's going to do something around HR and workforce development in the time of COVID. So go for it, Brian.
Thanks. Jeanette Carroll was originally scheduled to do this. She's with Whitlawn, and her mother is sick, and so I'm taking on this responsibility for today. Are the slides up? Do I not see them?
There we go.
There we go. So, Trey, if you can, I'll just say next, I guess, and we'll go from there. I need to move this. Okay. So, this is slide number 2, and was slide number 1 up, Trey? Have we seen that? I just wanted to point out it's who I am. I'm with HR Group International. I've done some work with and for the deal for some time now, and so I'm glad to be able to spend a little bit of time going over some information that I think has some value. You'll make that decision yourself. Next. So my first recommendation to you is really to document everything that you are doing regarding new procedures. You can Word doc it, you can spreadsheet it. I wouldn't calendar it because you wouldn't go back to it. What it's going to do for you is it's going to provide you a way to look, to regain your footing when we look back at what it was that we have done. And I think what we'll find is it's going to be a different world, right? When this is all said and done. And to have some of that information memorialized, I think will provide you the opportunity to retain those policies and procedures that you newly implemented, and to know or ensure that you inform everybody which policies and procedures are actually going to go away. Next. And please ask any questions as we're going through this, and just jump in. We really need to ask a lot of key questions. Employees remember how leaders in the company treat them during rough times, often more than in the good times. So in rough times like this, I think there are a couple of words that are important, and one's sympathy and one's empathy. And that resonates with me, and I hope it resonates with you. Empathy and sympathy will get us through this time, and over communicating will ensure that we are moving forward and everybody's on the same team. Back to 3. What is the ideal way to move forward as a team? What are the big fears, and how do we best address them? And I think it all starts with the word we. It's incredibly important for leaders to listen to people's responses, understanding their concerns, and determining how to best address them is what this is all about. Times of crisis can highlight a lot of the holes that we have in our organization, but they can also result in employee appreciation and loyalty if they're handled correctly. I can cite so many examples where I have been in a situation where we were going to terminate somebody and brought them into the office and, kind of read the riot act and said, hey, we got to let you go. And they make a turn, right? We give them a lot of chances, and they make the turn, and they come back, and they're much better for it, and they're more dedicated. So I oftentimes are so conflict avoided that we don't address the issues until the issues have been going on for some time. And so I really, really enforce the don't be conflict avoidant, especially now. The over communication can be managed simply by what I call stand-up meetings, and they're 10-minute meetings or maybe 15-minute meetings on every shift or at the beginning of every work day, depending on what part of the industry that you're working in. And we used to just go through what our day is going to look like. What happened yesterday? What happens today? And what can we expect tomorrow? This week, next week, 1 month out, whatever it is that is pertinent. And right now, obviously, it's COVID-19. I was recently in an experience with one of the retail shops that I work with, and there were some pretty significant rumors going on about what the owners were not doing for their people. Confront the issue as soon as you hear about it, because what we are doing is so much more than what we may have been doing. And then you just need to bring everybody together and address each employee separately or address them as a group. Next. Questions from you. How do I keep my employees safe during the crisis? And I say you set up protocols. You set up policies and procedures, and mostly you ask them for their input, because they are the ones that are on the front line. They'll tell you what they need. They'll tell you what they want. And we tell them if we can do it, or we tell them that we can't. And if we can't, we tell them why. How do I keep my employees engaged when they are suffering from anxiety with COVID-19? Not to be cavalier here, people, but ask them. Ask them. How can you help them? There are no rules. The rule today is that there are no rules, and whatever we can do to accommodate them, we need. And you know, I was going to brainstorm here, but I think we'll just move forward. But any ideas that people have, I think, could be shared with Jill and Kristen, or send it to me. My contact information is on one of the slides, and I can put that together and send it back out. The next question is, what is Family's First Coronavirus Response Act, and how does it apply to a small business? Up in the left-hand corner is a paid sick leave, COVID-19, and open that if you escape out of the slideshow tray, and then you can open it. Can you do that or not? And then click on it. Yes. That's weird.
We're going to have the slideshow available up on the website after we're done too.
Okay.
So yeah, people can get to it from there.
Okay. So in terms of the paid sick leave, it's too bad we can't get this open. It looks like we won't be able to get any of them open. But to answer your question, how does it apply to a small business? I've pulled these documents together because they provide a lot of really great questions. And within those questions, there are a lot of answers. And I think you will find the answers that you will be looking for under the paid sick leave and coronavirus, the COVID, and then the summary of HR, which is a summary of the COVID-19, and then some commonly asked questions. And I think what those all do for you is will answer your specific question. And I don't mean to be vague, but I can't answer your question because there are just so many there are just so many questions. And again, the rules change every day. I just got a notice that said that the CDC revised the guide for essential workers again. And those who were exposed to the virus but don't have symptoms returned. And state governments industries to consider critical, as there is no national standard. Now we get something from the CDC, and they're saying that, you know, some of the people can go back to work even they have tested. So I think that's an example of where we are. Next. Next slide, please.
There you go.
On the one of communication, there are two critical points to reinforce in uncertain situation in today's world. The first is acknowledging things are uncertain, right? So the approach will be to access what is happening on an ongoing basis and update people as the situation emerges, much like the breaking news from the Bloomberg report that I just mentioned. Over-communicate. More is more. The second is that the decisions will prioritize, the decisions that we're making should prioritize the safety and the health of those involved, whether they're clients or customers or suppliers or contractors, anybody that's involved in the industry. Beyond that, it's a matter of being clear about what is happening, what decisions are being made, and how they affect us day in and day out. What is the impact on me, my team, my customers, now and moving into the future? Next.
Hey, Trey, can you send the next slide? There we go. Sorry.
Progressive discipline. What I want to say about progressive discipline is to continue to do it. And this is probably a difficult time to use progressive discipline to coach and to counsel our people because everything is so tenuous. But if an employee is not following the rules and regulations, really, this is not a time to back away from progressive discipline. This is a time to ensure that you have a social media policy, as your people may be sharing negative information about your business. I recently was involved in that situation where somebody was not specifically talking about their work by name, but they were referencing it, and this individual's blog shows where this person works. So I don't know if you have a social media policy, but I've had two instances just in the last month where frustrated and angry employees are not doing their workplace any good. If you have one, then great. If you don't have one, then write one. And if you need some guidance, then you can call me or email me and I can guide you through it. I can give you some bullet points and stuff that verbiage that should be used, or I can write one for you. Employees finally are sensing that they are in control and untouchable, and they're not. And so we need to tell ourselves that they are not, and we need to continue to do what we need to do. I've supported, as I said, 2 terminating employees to date during this time. It was painful, it was sad, but neither employee could see the bigger picture. And even after we told them, I mean, so it's tough, but it may or may not happen in your particular settings, but it's happening. You should not avoid it, please. One of the ideas that we bounced around as we disinfect everything that we have all day long regardless of the workplace, is to, in the case of a retailer, all of the orders were going directly into the voicemail. Employees were retrieving the information, and then they were calling back the customer on their personal cell phones. And it was brought up that they didn't really like or want to have that information out there with other customers. So we bought a couple of cell phones, and then we assigned people to do those callbacks on a particular day. And then we bought inexpensive phones and bought time, and we set up protocols for cleaning before and after use. So that's the kind of minutia, the kind of details that you all are pursuing, and that's a great thing. Next. Meetings on the web. I haven't seen it here, but we're all Zooming, we're all Skyping, we're all FaceTiming, but just a heads up, get it set up correctly. A friend of mine who works for Boeing was on a team Zoom and forgot she was still in her robe. And, you know, she took a lot of grief, obviously, after that. And then someone else had somehow converted her online presence to a potato head, and she couldn't figure out how to undo it for the entire meeting, so she was a potato head. I've also read about other embarrassing web meetings, and for some they were funny, but for others they were quite offended, even though it was without malice. Check you and your surroundings before logging in. I've never seen an issue on with the Alliance. Everybody seems to have, you know, we do this a lot, but for some of the organizations that don't, it's something to consider. Next. Scared to say it, recruiting. Most of us are not hiring people, but rather using standby employment. In the case where there is something that needs to be filled, a job that needs to be filled, and you're Zooming and you're Zooming the interview, do it in the workplace, you know, or then go out into the grow room or wherever, and have people on your staff come by and say hello and ask a few questions and answer a few questions. Again, being creative is the thing, the approach that we want to take. Next. Links. We've all got a bunch of links. And so these will be posted so you can reference them. One that's really cool, I thought was really cool, was the one on the bottom where it's NW News Network, and that's a whole list of essential businesses and industries, and it's changing, a la the Bloomberg note that I just read, but it's kind of cool to see, and it will help you in your personal life as well, in terms of where can I go to understand if something is open or closed. CDC.gov, the coronavirus.gov. Vincent Sederberg is a law firm. I don't know if you've heard of them. They do not have an office in Seattle, but they're quite large. They're in Boston, Denver, I think LA. I don't know. They're large. They have a lot of webinars that you can that have been recorded, and you can go and listen to them on the webinars that are related to the cannabis industry. And there's just a list of them. You can select them and listen to some updates on what is going on from their perspective. Next. More coronavirus insurance. This is something that's been put out there by Conover Insurance via Ron Schmid, who's a broker, and they've got some really great information. And on how the insurance side of this works in the industry, in all industries, frankly. So that's a good resource. And then you can reach out to me, and there's my website, and there's my information. And then the Washington State coronavirus update is you can just type that into your browser and hit go and take it away. That's what I got.
Does anybody have any questions for Brian? Thanks. Thank you, Brian. If you have a question, unmute yourself. I know HR is all weird. It changes daily.
Please call me. I'll answer your questions. I'm happy to.
And we'll get that presentation up probably like by the end of our meeting here. So, oh yeah. And then Matt Clark put in some other links for OSHA and L&I work comp and COVID-19. And we're going to have a presentation in May on workers' compensation lawsuits around COVID-19 because we know they're coming. So unfortunately. So we're going to have a defense attorney come and talk with Matt about some of the things that we're addressing in that one and how to have a heads up. Thank you, Brian. Thanks so much. You're very helpful. Awesome. Now we're going to have Todd speak. Hi, Todd. You're there on the CARES Act and some of the other financial institutions and their things. And before you get going, I will tell you, I just had a talk with Solal, for example, and asked if they would reduce their fees for the industry. And they said, well, probably not, but if you're struggling, reach out to them. And they're doing it on a case-by-case basis. So I know all the banks are doing that at this point.
That's cool.
Go for it, Todd.
Hi, everybody. I'm your treasurer. So I really Kristen wanted me to talk to you, and I've been doing a lot of work with all these new acts and stuff like that. So feel free to just, I want to be here just kind of as a resource. So feel free to ask me any questions, even if it doesn't apply to your cannabis business, because these are two major pieces of tax legislation. And just like Brian was saying, it's just changing all the time, but there are some, most of the news is bad for the cannabis industry, just to get that out of the way. So let me just give you sort of the top level of what some of the stimulus bills are, federally at least. The first one is the CARES Act. And as you've, I'm sure, been seeing, one of the major incredible programs is that the United States Small Business Administration is giving loans that effectively turn into grants for up to 2 months of payroll and rent and utilities for businesses that need it. It's very clear that cannabis doesn't apply for that. And that's just, it's right there on at the beginning of the applications. They ask if you're doing anything federally illegal. And if you can't certify that, you can't get the loan. And there was also a memo the Small Business Administration released at the end of 2018, where they even said they wouldn't work with ancillary businesses. So that's a problem too. Like, we discovered that at the Cannabis Alliance, trying to get some of that stimulus money, and the Small Business Administration was like, no, not even if you work with the industry. So it's even worse than the IRS. So unfortunately, I can certainly talk more about those SBA loans and SBA grants if you have questions for me about your other businesses, or for something else. There's a lot to know there, but unfortunately for cannabis businesses as it stands right now, those aren't allowed. I did speak with the Deputy Director of Government Relations at NCIA, Michelle Ruddle, and the NCIA has been doing a lot of lobbying trying to get that change. So maybe we'll see a change in another stimulus bill where they might allow cannabis businesses to access these funds, but right now it isn't happening. Fortunately, and I mean, at least I've seen with my clients, while there's certainly been some hits, it's not like, you know, the restaurant industry, or it's not like salons, or it's not like bars, where, you know, there's a lot of businesses out there that have zero revenues. So, I mean, you know, trying to look for some good news somewhere. The other major legislation that passed was something called the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. And what that did, and this is another annoying thing for the cannabis industry, is that put into place required paid sick leave and paid family leave on a national level for a lot of conditions related to COVID-19, or if you're taking care of somebody who needs help for COVID-19, or if you can't work because your kids are at home and you just can't go to work because you need to take care of them. So that was a federal provision that very briefly essentially has two pieces to it. It requires you now, and this does apply to you, cannabis companies, that up to 2 weeks of paid sick leave if somebody needs it. And this is in addition, just so you know, this is in addition to whatever they have for Washington State. This is an additional paid sick leave. And then there's up to 10 weeks of paid family leave, which is at a reduced rate. And that's primarily for people who, it's sort of the kid issue on that one. Like, you can't come to work at all because you have nobody to take care of your kids. So you can even qualify for up to 10 weeks there. Now, for every other company in the country, what the IRS is doing is they're like, all right, if you tell us how much you're paying on that, we're going to match you dollar for dollar, and we're just going to pay for it all. So great. How are they going to pay for it? Oh, they pay for it what's called a tax credit. And if you know anything about 280E, that's specifically one of the things it doesn't allow. It doesn't allow you any tax credits. And so you're put into this very bad position of being required to pay it if your employees qualify, but you're not going to get any money to pay for it. It's insane. It's unjust. You know, you're an essential business. You're supposed to be open. Your employees are risking their lives. And yet the federal government is not going to help you protect them. So that one is another problem. And that's another thing. The only thing we can hope for is the NCIA trying to get that language changed as well, and possibly another stimulus bill. It's really unfortunate. I mean, I took a lot of classes on particularly that provision last week. And just every CPA I talked to, we just kept looking at it. And we're like, well, it completely it's a tax credit. There's really no way to avoid that. That's exactly what it's defined as, deep in the regulations. So, you know, that's a problem too, but it is something, you know, it's essentially this other benefit that you need to be aware of. And I have some really good links and resources, and some of you might already be on my mailing list, where you can hear about these things and find out about them. There is an exemption if you have under 50 employees, where you may not have to provide this paid family leave, this 10 weeks of family leave. Essentially, the rule is that if by doing so you would sort of cripple your business, then you may not have to provide that. So that's at least a little bit of, you know, potential relief. And that would be in the sense of, I don't know, if you're a really small operation and your general manager had to be gone for 10 weeks, you could probably make an argument. They're like, we don't have anybody to replace them, and we can't do this. You know, we can't provide this. And finally, and then I'll just open it up for questions. There is, you know, new Washington grants that actually just got announced for up to $10,000. That only applies to businesses that have 10 employees or less. So it's some pretty small operations. And it doesn't look like that money's coming anytime soon, at least according to their website. They said in several weeks. But that might be something for the smaller operators to kind of look into. Yeah, so how about I just leave it there for now? I really, there's just so many different aspects and questions I've been answering. If you have anything, even if it's not related to cannabis, let me know.
Hey, I do have one question here.
Yeah.
Are you aware of any loans like the SBA 504 that provides loans for purchasing real estate?
What's that again?
Are you aware of any loans like the SBA 504 that provides loans for purchasing real estate?
As part of like the stimulus package?
Yeah.
No, I don't think there is anything like that yet.
Yet.
Yeah, I don't know why there would though.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anybody else have any questions? I wish we all had better news. We are all working really hard to put a lot of pressure on the feds. I know NCIA is. I know that I am doing it. And
all I do is show up and just give you shitty news. I'm sorry, I'm an accountant. I'm sorry. I can just let you know it makes me mad. That's all I can tell you. I don't know. I think there might be something, this is just my gut, is that a lot of little fun things get passed in these bills. And they certainly did in these stimulus bills that maybe had nothing to do with the COVID-19 crisis. So, I mean, it's an opportunity too. I mean, it's possible that, if not fixing these issues, maybe the NCIA is finally gets the banking issue resolved.
Yeah. Or maybe the
sort of a side, as sort of a public safety thing. Like, hey, by the way, if we're going to do all this anyhow, why don't we just fix the banking bill and nobody notices, or they don't care, maybe.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Todd. Anybody else have any questions? I know, poor Todd. It could be worse. I think lawyers have worse questions. Oscar may have a question.
Hi, Todd. Thank you for your time
hey,
this
man.
afternoon. Hey there, man.
Hey, bro.
If there were a man, bro, person, sister, human cannabis company who was being serviced by a management firm,
yeah,
who through the process of an audit was deemed not to be a cannabis company,
yeah,
could that be some kind of foundational argument?
I think so. Probably
could apply for. Okay.
I mean, it seems to me if you, but see, here's the problem though, Oscar, is because, so here was the thing that sort of struck me too when I was looking at this is that, so what we're sort of coming up against with the Small Business Administration is now we start, instead of this very narrow tax argument, we're starting to go into this, DEA. I'm not saying they're the DEA, but you know what I mean? We're starting to go into drugs are illegal. And it's a much broader term and they probably have more discretion. I mean, I know that if I was applying for one of these SBA loans for a management company that's main job was to service and work with cannabis companies, and I had something from the IRS that said, we don't consider this a cannabis company per 280E, I would certainly use that. I would certainly apply. But some of the banks are actually having you sign something that says that you aren't working with the industry. I think it's a better chance than no, but the SBA doesn't have to listen to the IRS. I don't think. I could be right. I don't think they would really care. They'd be like, it's not,
We have non-cannabis clients as well that we do general business.
Yeah. So in that case, but so it's crazy though. Like the let me just pull it up here real quick, and I could send it out to the group too. Here was the policy. The policy says from the. Just give me 1 second. Oh, here's the policy notice. So one of the things they said, the following businesses are ineligible. So they direct marijuana businesses, hemp-related businesses is kind of that's state by state basis. But they say indirect marijuana business. They say a business that derived any of its gross revenue for the previous year from sales to direct marijuana businesses of products or services that could reasonably be determined to support the use, growth, enhancement, or development of marijuana. So, okay, so that's where you start seeing your examples. Examples include businesses that provide testing services, sell grow lights or hydroponic equipment, businesses that sell smoking devices, pipes, bongs, inhalants, or other products. Yeah. So actually, you know what? That's a pretty narrow definition to me.
Yeah, right, exactly. So if you,
and I'm actually pretty surprised that they use that definition to deny us. It's not like we're helping.
I have a question with that. Would that include smoke shops? Because they sell pipes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you know, so this is where, you know, this is where, see, but the problem is with this, you know, the logistical problem I think you can see is that, you know, people might need this money now. And it's just like, yeah, you might win the argument in a month. But you know, Oscar, to your point on that question, I mean, I think from reading that, I 100%, I mean, the policy itself says like, well, we're not helping them.
Right.
That's exactly. Not what we're not helping them essentially grow and sell marijuana necessarily. Right. But it says any revenue. So it gets, you know, it's such a broad term, but.
Yeah. Any is quite dubious.
Hello.
Thank you, Todd.
This is Chuck.
Hey,
Hi,
sorry,
Chuck.
Just to wrap up, I'm sorry, just one thing. Sorry, Chuck, thank you for letting me do that. Todd, could you post that memo?
How do can I just send it to Kristen or something?
You can send it to me, or you can just throw the link into the chat box.
All right, why don't I do that? Let me get the link and then I'll do that.
Todd, Oscar, hello everybody. Or should I say,
hey, Chuck.
Hi.
Thank you.
Somebody's high.
Todd, you inspired me off of a previous phone call, and I applied for the loan.
Oh, good.
So that I read the same policy document, and I took it to mean that so this is Chuck from the Dime Bag Scale Company. All of my customers are cannabis customers, but I don't sell cannabis.
Yeah.
I took that policy guidance to mean ancillaries that aid in the growing, specifically light companies, this and that. I took the role. The application says I applied for a grant for $10K that in theory I get even if my application is denied. And I wasn't going to do it, and I did it based on that last conversation, brother. So you brought me some good news, I hope.
Oh, good.
I'll certainly keep everybody posted.
Yeah, no, I'd be really interested in your experience with it. So did you apply for the Paycheck Protection Loan or the...
No, I'm a sole prop, one banana, home-based business.
You can do the Paycheck Protection Loan also, just so you know. You can do both.
Yeah. I have to consult with my tax consultant on that.
You can get $10,000 and the other loan if you want.
Yeah, go for
that
it.
Would be... So there it is, and I'll let everybody know how I did because Oscar, I'm thinking this. Yeah, so I just wanted to throw that out there. I tried, and I'll keep everybody posted.
Chuck, I would really love to know your experience with it. And I think we all would because that's at least a possible. I mean, it's not going to apply to everybody, but you know, I know a lot of us have different business interests. Yeah, please do. I'll be.
There's a very large ancillary businesses that supply the cannabis industry.
Well, yeah,
and
like
those very large companies are not eligible for this assistance.
Well,
that's a whole other economic downturn that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
I've had an uptick in business. To be honest, everybody, Washington's cannabis business seems to be very busy over the last 2 weeks, and I'm essential too. And I've fortunately been able to be on the road a little bit, and social distancing is working. And it's a reminder, cannabis is busy.
That's good news, Chuck.
Yeah.
It is very good news. Thanks, Todd.
Good luck.
Thank you, Todd. That was awesome. And he put the SBA notice into the chat box if anybody needs it. All right, I am going to turn the next program over to Leafly to talk about their new pickup program, which has been very popular to allow online ordering. And I will also at the same time announce that the Cannabis Alliance now has a credit card processor. And I'll throw that into the chat box to help you guys with credit card processing. So you can do online ordering and credit card processing. So Richard, if you want to take it away, unmute. There you go.
Hello, everyone. I'm Richard Maloney with Leafly.com. I may have met a few of you along the way. July for me will be 5 years with Leafly, so we may have spoken at some point in this cannabis journey. So what I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to speak really quickly. I'm not going to take much of your time. Most of you that are at the retail level here in Washington are probably heard of Leafly, worked with Leafly, or working with Leafly. But really what I wanted to let you all know is that Leafly does have a product right now that's called Leafly Pickup that enables the user base on leafly.com to place orders for reservation. And we do have some customers that have been really successful in utilizing this tool. Just to give you some high level data points, looking at March over February, we saw 310% growth in the product. Just looking at those monthly numbers, just February to March. In just the month of March thus far, we've had over 5,500 pickup customers. So individuals using the Leafly product in the state of Washington. I believe right now there are about 84 retailers in the state that are using the product. I will say that the amount of usage, it does vary from market to market, from city to city, municipality to municipality. However, it is a tool that Leafly offers that is, I think, helping folks mitigate the spread of COVID-19. So we do have some retailers that are utilizing the tool, and they're utilizing curbside pickup, and just some other things that I think is really important for the group to know in light of everything that has been happening with the COVID-19 crisis. Leafly does work with retailers all across North America, and this pandemic is obviously affecting not just cannabis businesses, but the entire world. And with that, we've quickly whipped up a delivery product as well. Leafly is fully aware that delivery is obviously not a product or service that cannabis retailers are allowed to offer. However, I did just want to touch on that because I do believe our general counsel, Yoko, who's actually connected me with Kristen and the group here, we have been moving some mountains in some of the other states. So I'm not sure if this group knew, but in the state of Nevada, effective about 3 weeks ago, the state governor forced all cannabis businesses to close the doors for pickup business. However, enabled the rest of those retailers that they can deliver cannabis product. So with that, we do have a delivery tool that Leafly has available. We have partners in many markets now that are utilizing that tool. I actually have a call with a Massachusetts retailer directly following this to get that set up for them. So with that, what I'm just going to kind of quickly do, I'm not going to take up too much more of your time, is I just want to show you the ease of use of how the tool really works, so you guys can kind of have an understanding. I'm sure a few of you may already be familiar with it, but quickly, can everyone see my screen here?
Yes.
Awesome. So this is a retailer that Leafly works with. They are doing an amazing job of they've been really proactive with the COVID-19 crisis. I just wanted to call that out. They are offering curbside pickup. So just so you can kind of see, this is their ecosystem on leafly.com. So if these users land on their page, they are able to add items to their cart. So it's as simple as really any other e-commerce experience. You can add these products to your bag. You can, basically, it's as simple as that. And you get to your checkout stage here. I'm obviously logged in as a registered user, so I can see my order here. I confirm that order. And then I'm already logged into my Leafly account, so this information is saved for me here. And then all I really need to do to place that order is send the order through. So what then happens is this order then is received by the storefront itself. So in the back end of their Leafly management tool, they have a reservations dashboard. So this is just to show you, right now they have 14 orders that are sitting in their queue for folks that have been communicated to that they can come pick up their order. So I'll just quickly highlight to you, the Leafly system does have a full chat functionality as well. That's all SMS based. So they are communicating with some of these folks that if they'd like curbside pickup, they can basically communicate to some of these folks and let them know if they like curbside pickup, you can simply call the store. So they're doing it on some of the orders here, but Leafly does offer a full SMS-based system where customers can communicate directly with those folks that are placing orders. So again, Leafly also has built a delivery product. So I'm just showing you one of our folks that we work with down in Portland right now. They are still open for business. They were deemed essential down there in Oregon as well. And they still have the opportunity to allow for pickup and delivery orders. So you can basically see if for some reason in future legislative sessions here in Washington State, with cannabis being so essential, potentially the state may consider allowing for some of these retailers to deliver products. So I did just want to let you know that Leafly does have that as well. And then really, I think I'll kind of stop there. I'll open it up for questions. And then just before I go, another note that I just think is important for people to know. There are obviously a lot of platforms in the cannabis industry today that allow for ordering. Leafly is one of them. So I would look at it as if you were a restaurant, you could look at using Uber Eats or DoorDash or Postmates. Leafly has no issue or problem with all of the avenues that you can use to get orders. We are just one of those arms that are here to help. We have a large audience of people that are looking to find and discover and buy cannabis and learn about cannabis on Leafly. And then just leaving you with that point, here's another Washington retailer here in the state that we work with. What you will notice is Leafly also offers an embed function. So if you do just want to simply host your Leafly menu with ordering on your website, we also offer that as a tool that's included in your Leafly subscription. So just wanted to let you know there are quite a few retailers here in Washington State that are utilizing our tool and seeing great success. And I think that was really all I wanted to share with the group today. And I know that most of you are aware of what Leafly does, but we are also a company that does offer this functionality for retailers. So with that, I'll kind of, I guess, open it up for any questions that anybody has. But that was really the message I just want to communicate. We're kind of here to help work with you in these times, and ideally keep your staff safe and keep the patients and customers safe that are looking to purchase cannabis.
Does anybody have any questions? And I put the credit card processor information in the chat box. And Richard, do you want to put the how to get a hold of Leafly in the chat box as well?
Absolutely. I will do that now. And then if anyone has questions, you can all feel free to just reach out to me directly. I'll put my contact information in here, and then a link into just a landing page for Leafly Pickup. So thank you for the time. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
And get that information punched in here now and go on mute.
Jason, you are next up. Jason and Kim, do you want to do an intro of Jason? You have to unmute yourself, sweetie.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. First of all, I just want to say it's really wonderful to see everybody here. I think we almost have as many people on this virtual meeting as we do in an in-person meeting. And I only got out of my robe today. I put on makeup for you all. And I chose my happy think positive cup, even though this is a tough time. So I think everybody should just take a deep collective breath. And I'm just really impressed with all the professionalism and the stick-to-itiveness that everybody has, and look at the challenges that we're going through, and everybody just does such a great job and sticks together. So grateful for that. So we have our member spotlight right now. And as you may remember, our member spotlight is when we learn a little bit about each other's businesses so that we can be sure and support each other's businesses and tell other people about each other's businesses in the industry. So today we have Jason Lammers, and he is the general manager of 420 Wholesale Pack. And Jason is also been really leading the charge on the Waste and Recycling Committee, which really sits close to my heart because my day job, actually, I do environmental work and I'm a recycling professional. So really lots of kudos to Jason, and take it away, Jason.
Thanks, Kim. So for anybody that hasn't met me before, I'm Jason Lammers with 420 Wholesale Pack, also a board member here at the Alliance. I've been a member for almost 4 years now. Our company's been around for almost 5 now. We've been supplying the industry with all your typical packaging needs for the industry. But one thing that we're really excited to announce today that we are going to be rolling out this summer is we're actually getting in the manufacturing business as well, instead of just distributing products and importing out of overseas. So we're going to have a new mold ready to go here in the next month or two that will be manufacturing joint tubes that are going to be made locally here in Washington State. I think in these uncertain times, having a reliable supply chain is going to be really valuable. So we really like the upside that that's going to provide for us and for our industry members. But also we're going to be making these from 100% recycled plastics. So we've managed to secure some really high quality recycled resins. And so we'll be manufacturing joint tubes made from all recycled plastics. So we won't be adding any new virgin materials into the waste stream. And the other exciting thing about that is we're going to be price competitive. So we're really looking at this being a real disruptor in the marketplace, because we're not asking cannabis farms to invest more money to do the right thing. It's going to be priced competitively to the virgin plastic, Chinese tube, and all the rest of the stuff you see on the marketplace. So we really think it'll be a great opportunity for people to do the right thing with their brands and their joint tube branding to make their packaging more sustainable without having to compromise quality or image or their branding style they already have. And then again, also just having that local supply chain in place so that we can never run out of joint tubes anymore. That's been a problem for a lot of me and other competitor businesses that import is a lot of supply chain issues happen. And right now, a lot of that's occurring. So having a local supply chain for these is going to be a great thing, I think. So if anybody's interested in contacting me about the recycled joint tubes or any other packaging, I'll put my contact info in the comments.
Big jazz hands for coming up with that, Jason. Jazz hands. That is awesome to find locally sourced, because I think people have seen that, losing our import partners during this COVID-19 has been rather problematic. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to say about that too is in the recycling and environmental industry, they're trying to seed businesses here to be able to recycle plastics on shore here. A lot of our plastics in the recycling stream in the past have gone offshore. China, as you know, cut us off a couple years ago. So there's a lot of movement in our industry to get those plastics recycled right here. So that's some exciting news for all of us.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. Anybody else have anything else to announce?
Did you already touch on the event, Kristen?
I did, but we can put that in the chat box again.
Okay.
Yeah. Chronic 420. Let me put it back in the chat box. I have to go find it first. There we go. You can stream that live event. Oh, and Richard, Jonathan wants to know if online order service is included with the basic monthly charge to retailers.
Yes, Jonathan, no additional fee. It's included in whatever level of subscription you have with Leafly with no additional charge.
That's awesome. Thank you for livening up this. I want you all to know I shaved my mustache just to see you guys. Anything else to announce for the good of the community? Don't forget, virtual happy hour next Tuesday, 4 to 5, and the link is on our events page. So
it's a lot of fun. Come hang out with us, guys.
Yeah, because Jill and I talk to each other enough, but by seeing your faces as well. And we will eventually be back to meeting in person.
I'm jealous of Jason's background. I like that.
Yeah, Jason has an awesome background. And Jonathan asked me, how can I explain how the credit card process there is legal?
they run through a third party. They've been in business for a long time, and they've been working mostly with other industries that, shall we say,
Live in the fringe.
live in the fringe and haven't had an issue with that. So when cannabis came up as a legal industry, they stepped into it. And a couple of our retailers have already been working with them before they came on as a credit card processor with the Cannabis Alliance, because they were really happy and comfortable with how they basically have assumed the risk, not you. So does that answer the question, Jonathan? It's a good question, though. And I'm sure Todd can probably explain it further, but I know. Our lawyer took a really hard look at it and said, well, they take all the risks, so we don't have to take the risk. They take the risk. Yeah, okay. If there's no other questions, you know how to find me and Jill. And hopefully we'll see you on Tuesday. Thank you guys for attending.
Thank you guys for coming so much.
Yeah.
Thank
you. You did
See y'all.
great job, you guys.
Have a good one. Be
Thank you.
safe, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, folks.
The people.
Somebody was amazed at Kara's background.
Yeah, me, because I asked her too. I have all these meetings and I have to drag this laptop all around the house to try and find a decent spot that's got light. So I'm going to try that.
Yeah, you can download a video and have it sit back there.
Yeah, you have to have a newer video capacitor or a green screen behind you though, Kim. Thus the reason I have a sheet, because my computer is not new enough to do it.
Oh, okay. My computer's about 3 or 4 years
And
old.
if I do it, I'll show you what it looks like if I do it. It basically puts the background on my face.
Oh.
Here, now how do I do it? Let me see how I do it. You go to the arrow to the right of the video.
So where it says stop video, go slightly to the right. There's like a little up caret. You click the up caret. The bottom one is choose virtual background.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
so
hey
that's not
Jill.
Yeah.
Stop recording this.
Oh, good call.
Ooh, I have a double chin.
I don't think it's working.